Hey folks, it's Anthony Carr, broker, here with questions of the day. Let's get started. Can I provide a commission rebate back to the buyer? You as an agent. Yes, you can. You can put money back in the to the buyer for a rebate, but you cannot give back to them more than what the loan program will allow them to have. So if the seller's giving them closing cost assistance and you're tossing in some money for the commission rebate, you could go more than what the loan program allows. Now, let me say something about this. It's interesting that in real estate, we're the only industry that once we get to the point that we get a paycheck, that someone comes in and says, "Hey, can I have a piece of that?" You don't ask that from the doctor, the lawyer, the accountant, the mechanic, the grocery store owner, but only with realtors. So I would say, as an agent, make sure you've done your job, that you've gotten in the property, which in today's market, that's win number one. Number two, that you've gotten them a good price. And if you can, get them some assistance to where they don't need your commission, your paycheck, as a means of making it to closing. So that's my thoughts on that. If the seller postpones closing, could that force the buyer into default? That's actually a pretty good question. It could. If the buyer and seller do not have a written agreement to postpone closing, they either one of them or both of them could be in default. Default is when you don't sign at the time that you're supposed to sign and close and bring the money to the table. Now, if the seller says they need to postpone, but they won't sign the documents, as a buyer, I would go to the table and at least attempt to sign and let them know that I have signed. And then the seller would be the one on the dime to have to get it finished. And if they don't, then you have the wherewithal to sue them to force them to close because you've done everything you're supposed to do. But yeah, you want to make sure that you extend the closing if that's what's coming up. If the buyer and seller both sign the contract, is that all that's required for being ratified? No, it's not. After everyone agrees and signs the contract, it has to be delivered to each party. So the buyer brings in an offer, the seller counters it, the buyer signs it, and then they put it on the shelf. Yes, they both signed it, but it was not delivered back to the seller, which is what really ratifies that contract. So make sure that your buyer, or you as the buyer, that when you get done signing it, or the seller is the last one to sign it, that it's delivered back to the other party, because that's what really makes it ratified. Got any questions? You can text them to me. I'm Anthony Carr. This is Anthony Carr TV. And by the way, if you like the channel, please subscribe. You won't miss any videos, and I get bragging rights. Send your questions of the day to anthony.carr@kw.com. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful day.